So many companies are getting way better at hiring diverse talent, which is great, but that's really only half the battle. Today, we're going to talk about how to get beyond that frustrating revolving door and actually build a place where your best people want to stay and grow and build a real career. Okay, let's get into it.
This is the big question, right? It's what so many leaders are trying to figure out. You put in all this work, you invest in bringing these incredible people from underrepresented backgrounds into the fold. So why does it feel like you're constantly fighting just to keep them from walking out the door?
And this chart just says it all, doesn't it? You see all this energy, all this investment going into diverse hiring. And look, that bar is trending up. That's fantastic. But look at the other bar. The attrition rate for those exact same groups is climbing right alongside it. This isn't just a number on a chart. It's a huge red flag that something fundamental is broken inside.
So let's really diagnose the problem here. The best way to think about it is like trying to fill a bucket that's just riddled with holes. And to see what this looks like in the real world, we're going to take a look at a case study from a place you might have heard of, Google.
Okay, get this. In a single fiscal year, even while Google was making progress on the hiring front, they lost over 360 employees from Indigenous, ethnic American, and other underrepresented racial groups. I mean, just pause and think about that for a second. That's hundreds of brilliant minds, hundreds of unique perspectives, just walking right out the door.
And this is the bottom line, really. This is not just a DEI problem. It's a core operational and talent management failure. You're bleeding assets, you're losing institutional knowledge, and you're killing future innovation because the culture inside isn't built to make people want to stay for the long haul.
Okay, so let's get into the why. We're going to dig deep and break down 3 of these kind of hidden barriers that are pushing your best and brightest away. We're talking about bad mentorship, a missing sense of safety, and career paths that just lead to a dead end. First up, let's talk about failed mentorship. The old way of just grabbing 2 names and saying, "You're a pair now." It just doesn't work. Modern, truly effective programs are way smarter. They use things like AI-powered matching to look at skills, goals, even communication styles. They create pairings that actually have a shot. They provide structure, and this is absolutely crucial, they ensure mentors are culturally competent and that every digital tool they use is 100% accessible for everyone. The second barrier is this huge concept, psychological safety. And it's so important. It's the simple belief that you can speak up, you can share an idea, you can ask a question, you can voice a concern, you can even admit a mistake without fear of being punished or humiliated for it. For employees from Indigenous or ethnic American backgrounds, or for folks in the disabled community, this isn't a nice to have. It's everything.
And this quote, wow, it just hits so hard. This actually came from an employee who's a passionate long-distance runner. It's a massive part of who they are, their identity, and yet not a single person at work ever thought to ask about it. It just perfectly highlights this simple truth. If you don't see your people as whole human beings, they will never ever feel like they truly belong.
And that brings us to the third barrier, career progression, or, the lack of it. It's this tragic and way too common story. You have a high performer, someone who is just crushing it, but then a promotion comes up, and for some reason, they're passed over. That's when the feeling of being undervalued creeps in, and that's the exact moment they start looking for the exit. That revolving door starts to spin.
In today's hybrid world, these roadblocks look a little different. We're talking about stuff like collaboration software that doesn't work with a screen reader, or performance review AI that's been trained on biased data, or even remote team-building events that don't have live captioning. And not offering flexible work arrangements, that can be a massive barrier for employees with disabilities. These are the new, subtle ways we create exclusion.
Okay, enough about the problem. Let's flip this. Let's talk about the solution. How do you actually build a culture that makes people want to stay? It all comes down to creating a system of authentic, real, actionable support.
Authentic support isn't some poster you hang on the wall. It's a set of behaviors. It's about leaders who actively listen. It's being transparent. It's empowering people to contribute. And here's the real secret sauce. Don't just guess what your employees need. Co-design solutions with them, especially with folks from marginalized communities and the disability community. That's how you build things that actually work for everyone.
And we need to completely reframe how we think about performance gaps. Instead of seeing it as a negative, as finding fault, think of it as a tool for workforce development. When you identify a gap, you're not pointing out a failure, you're pinpointing a perfect opportunity to invest in that person's growth and build them a real, tangible, accessible career path forward.
So, What does it look like when a company really truly gets this right? For that, let's look at our gold standard case study, Ben & Jerry's. This is a company that doesn't just talk about their values, they have mastered the art of turning those values into actual business value.
The big takeaway here is the consistency. This isn't some new thing for them. This isn't a marketing gimmick. For decades, Ben & Jerry's has woven social action into the very DNA of their company. It feels authentic because it is authentic. It's been part of their story from the get-go.
And you might be asking, okay, but does it work for the business? Well, the numbers kind of speak for themselves, don't they? We're talking over $850 million in estimated annual turnover. They have proven, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that a deep, authentic commitment to inclusion and social justice isn't a liability, it is a massive competitive advantage.
I just love this quote from Ben Cohen. It perfectly captures their entire strategy. They use their product, something fun and accessible like ice cream, as a vehicle for having conversations that matter. It makes their brand about so much more than just a dessert. It's an absolute masterclass in embedding purpose into your core business.
So let's bring it all home by looking at the alternative. What happens if you just do nothing? If you let that revolving door keep on spinning? Well, the cost is a lot higher than you think.
First, your innovation just erodes. It withers on the vine. Without a constant influx of diverse perspectives, people who see the world differently, who solve problems differently, your business becomes an echo chamber. Creativity dries up, and you start to stagnate.
Second, your talent pool just shrinks. In our hyper-connected world, word travels fast. If you get a reputation for being a place where diverse talent doesn't stick around, it becomes almost impossible to attract the next generation of top performers. They'll just go somewhere else.
And finally, your brand itself just goes stale. Today's consumers and employees, they vote with their wallets and their careers. They reward companies that actually live their values. If your actions on inclusion don't match your words, you're going to be seen as irrelevant. You'll simply get left behind.
So that really brings us to the final, crucial question that you need to be asking yourself and your leadership team. When it comes to the amazing, diverse talent you're working so hard to attract, are you building a revolving door they can't wait to escape through? Or are you building a destination where they can truly belong and grow and thrive?